All right, I'm Nick. Today we are going to compare the Echelon 4.0C. That's obviously the compact Echelon, and we are going to compare the R7 Mako Carbon Compact by Kimber. We had some comments that they wanted us to purchase this to compare it to the Echelon, so we bought it. I'm just going to come out bluntly and say I'm not a fan. I'm going to say some things about this gun that will probably upset Kimber, loyalists, which is fine with me. I don't really care. I'm just giving you my honest opinion of the gun. Um, I don't think it's all that great in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to point out the reasons why here in a few minutes, okay? First off, let's just start at the top. We'll compare them. As far as night sights go, you're good to go. Whatever your preference is, either way, both guns are good to go on that. Both guns are optics ready. The Echelon, I took the optic off. The Holosun on the Kimber came with it. They have an optics ready and an optic included version. This is the optic included version. The optics ready version just comes with a plate instead of the optic, okay? So that top, that's all good, okay? It's all simple stuff. Now let's talk about front serrations on the gun. I'm not quite sure why they don't come to the top. I understand that you could grab the gun and rack it like this. However, if you're coming over the top, it's just slippery. It doesn't make any sense. The Echelon, they come all the way to the top. They're extremely grippy. No matter how you grab the gun, the slide serrations are just simply better, okay? I don't understand why they didn't do it. It doesn't make much sense to me. You're already there. You did it in the back. Why not just do it in the front too? It is what it is, not a huge deal. Other just things, just fit and finish. I'm not sure why the frame of the gun sticks out. Maybe you guys can see that. The frame of the gun sticks out a bit past the slide. Not a big deal, just something silly to point out, okay? Obviously, that's not a thing here. Everything lines up perfectly like it's a finished product, okay? That was just kind of interesting and intriguing to me. Hopefully that wind isn't too bad for the camera right now. As far as the grip goes, plenty of texture on both guns. You have index points for your fingers on both sides of the gun. Same thing on the Echelon. Plenty of grip. You have grip underneath your trigger well. You have that here as well. It's raised on the Kimber, which I don't know. I don't actually ever really touch that. My finger might touch it down here, but I don't ever touch the front. I don't think that makes too much of a difference. This grip on the Echelon is not as aggressive. For me, I don't wear an undershirt when I carry those, so the less aggressive grip doesn't rub my belly or my side raw, so that's all personal preference. No complaints about either, just giving you guys the details. Both of the guns have ambi mag and ambi slide stops, okay? So you don't have to reverse anything. It's just on both sides of the gun. Both of those actually work really well, okay? There is no fall off in that design on either side. I've talked about it before in the past. If you are left-handed and you use the slide stop on the right side of the gun, sometimes it's extremely stiff. That's not a thing in either case. They're very, very smooth. The controls are incredibly functional, okay? One of the things I mentioned about the Echelon was I said if it had a weakest point in the gun at all, it was the trigger, okay? I said the trigger was the weak point. I'm going to do this right-handed, so I don't have that much control. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible, okay? It's not bad. It's the worst part of the gun in my mind, but it's a very mute point, okay? Now, when we come over here to the Kimber, a lot of people have said really, really good things about this trigger in the comment sections and things like that. And, man, I just don't see it, all right? We're going to try to do this right-handed in the light. First off, you guys can't hear it, but can't do it. It's just... I don't know, it sounds crazy too, but if we watch this really close, blade safety, come to a wall, and then you come to a second wall, right? You see that? Now, it's not consistent. It's not going to do that every time. One of these times it's going to fire. Like that. There was no, and we'll do it again so you guys can see it. And I just found this out tinkering around. I felt like the trigger wasn't consistent, and there you go. Comes to a spot, goes to another wall. It didn't do it that time. It didn't do it that time, but it's ready to fire. You can go back, you can rewind, you can watch that in slow motion. It didn't do it that time. So, and then it'll just go back to having that second wall, right? And so one, didn't do it. One, not gonna do it. One, it's good, right? And then it does it. Now it does it every time. And then it'll just not do it. See, there it is. Now it's not there. I don't understand. I'm sure someone will say, well, you need to keep putting more rounds through to fix it. I don't think that's the case. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm not an armorer. I'm not going to go into details about why or how, okay? That is something that's not consistent, and I do not like inconsistencies. We put a bunch of rounds through this. We actually shot it. We shot a plate rack with it yesterday. It actually shot really, really well, but then I couldn't shoot it very, very well. And it's like the trigger is always in a different mood, okay? And I don't like that, all right? Another thing that I just don't like about this gun that's not a problem on the Echelon is everybody talks about this Bubbits design and how it should be better, but the barrel actually wiggles. We hold the slide, the barrel moves in here the whole time, which is so weird, okay? Maybe it's just a Bubbits design thing. That's how it's supposed to be. But people talked about how it's supposed to be more accurate and the barrel doesn't tilt. The barrel does tilt, okay? And then when it comes down, the locking mechanism in the rear, it doesn't lock up well. Now, that's only a millimeter of play or so, but a millimeter of play on a cant over time is going to cause accuracy issues. So I don't see it being all that incredibly accurate in the long run. Now, maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but these are things that I noticed just sitting around at the table, and I just don't like them, okay? And for the price point, the trigger should be better. Lots of things I don't get. One of my next complaints in a duty pistol or everyday carry pistol, for me, and these have ammo, we're not gonna rack the gun, I want the ability to strip this magazine. Right now, obviously, perfect world, it comes out of there. Say you have a malfunction or something, I want the ability to, I want to be able to strip that, okay? With the Magwell installed, that's not an option. You can't get your fingers in here. It has this little groove, but that groove is not big enough. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna get your finger in there? That groove is just not big enough to function, and that's pretty goofy to me. I think they're really worried about it looking cool aesthetically, and you could say, well, it helps you reload, but this has a cup, you know, a groove in there for your mag, if you're reload anyways, and if you're doing your job and practicing, I don't think you need a Magwell on an everyday carry. This doesn't seem reasonable to me. Now, the next thing I find really silly, and I actually did this on accident the first time. You can take that Magwell off, and we're going to try to do it carefully without losing anything. But if you push this button in, that pin just falls out. That pin is what holds your back strap in, okay? Now, once that falls out, this piece right here, if you banged it, it would come out of there, but we don't want to lose it. But if we were just shooting and it came out, that comes out, that spring just disappears. It just falls on the ground. Now you could take your Magwell off. It does come with a different pin. That way you can run this gun without the Magwell. And if the gun was, you know, didn't have the Magwell, then you could strip the magazine as needed, okay? I just find it interesting. I'm not complaining. For me, in the duty pistol, I want a system that requires a tool to take it apart. Now, hopefully we don't get banned on YouTube for this Magwell, but our YouTube's not monetized for these reasons. And at the end of the day, I don't really care. Now, it goes back together pretty darn simple. We don't want to lose anything, though. And then, the only thing is, hold on, let me find a stick. I don't know if that'll work. I need a stick. I need a stick. Oh, or Jack will just pull out his pocket knife out of nowhere. We'll push this back in. And there we go. It'll click in place, maybe. The spring is tiny. All right, we're back in place. I don't like that at all, okay? It's not the best system in my opinion. It's not the most reliable or sturdy, and that spring does not have much tension on it, so I could see it coming out of there. I'm not saying I dislike it, okay? I'm not being mean. People freak out in the comment section. I'm just pointing out things that I don't think justify the price tag. I will openly say I'm not the biggest fan of Kimber. I'm not. And I continually buy the Kimbers hoping that the marketing hype is real and the gun is better. I just don't see it. Okay. Also, for 800 bucks, there should be an O-ring on this thread protector. It shouldn't come loose every time we shoot it. I know we could put a little plumber's tape on there and fix the problem. Done that in the past with guns, but man, put a 10-cent O-ring in there for your customers. Doesn't make any sense. The Echelon, this does come off. The backstrap comes off, obviously much harder. It doesn't have a Magwell to make it look fancy, but it functions. It does what it's supposed to do. We have, I guess, at least 1,100 rounds through there. We haven't had any malfunctions. It hasn't been cleaned or lubed. Not bragging about that. We're just testing the guns out, okay? I don't have anything terrible to say about it. We did have issues with this as far as what people refer to as a birthday bump. So when you insert the magazine and the slide drops. I don't have a problem with it. I like it, but it has to be consistent, and it wasn't consistent. It was very inconsistent. It would do it, then it wouldn't do it, and I don't like things like that. Okay, so we're gonna shoot him a bit right now. We got this. Oh, that's the wrong magazine. That's funny. What a bum. I still think it shoots fine. If you are left-handed, that design is going to eject brass into your thumb. That's a weird thing to get used to. So if you're left-handed, it's another thing to consider. But it's a fine shooting pistol. That light is that red dot was bright. I read a thing where it said the whole Bubbits design has helped to stop recoil and stuff too. Man, I just don't see it. I don't see any benefit to it. Okay. There it is. That trigger. I didn't go to the reset, man, and that trigger is just weird, and I feel like it's very inconsistent. Like right now, we didn't reset, which I felt like we should have. We didn't. Reset's long. I missed. The trigger is terrible. Like, no joke, the trigger is terrible. It is just extremely inconsistent, okay? I don't know what to make of it. I really don't know what to make of it. I put it on the trigger gauge. It does say it breaks at 4.5 to 5 pounds. It just was so inconsistent for me that the reset is not always the same. It feels like the pressure is not always the same, and you don't know if you're going to have one or two walls. But back to it, that slide stop, it worked fantastic. Oh, that reset is so far. Here, come over here, Jack. Isn't that all right? So, bang. Now watch this reset. That is crazy. It's just insane to me. And I hate saying that 9mm are snappy, but they're not all created equal, man. That thing is a bit jumpy for being a compact 9mm. You can compare this to the Sig Fuse. You can compare it to that. It's just much snappier than the competition, okay? Not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying it's your money. It's your hard-earned money. You go out to buy it, and you're going to spend... I guess we're not allowed to say the price of things anymore on YouTube. I didn't know that, okay? If you're going to spend that much money on a pistol, there's just better options out there, in my opinion, okay? This gun, it's flatter and it tracks better, okay? Remember, they're all snappy and jumpy, but it's about how the slide or the dot returns to 0. This is a much flatter shooting pistol, and that has to be visible on the camera, okay? Now, I knocked this trigger when I said I had something bad about the gun. I'd say it was that trigger, but realistically, this trigger in the Echelon is way better than the trigger in that Kimber. It's not even close. And that's what I talked about. That's my other knock. I guess around the 300-400 round mark, every time we inserted a magazine, the slide would drop. And people say, is it a bug or a feature? If it doesn't do it every time, it's a bug. So now that we're at 1,100 rounds, it doesn't do it anymore. I prefer it not to do it, so that's no big deal. I'm used to just running the gun over the top because I'm left-handed. Typically, that's not there. So It's not a big deal to me, but something to consider, okay? This gun shoots way better than that gun. There really is no comparison, and this price point of the Echelon 4.0C is much better than that Kimber, okay? Now, I'm not trying to be mean to the Kimber. I'm just trying to provide you guys with an accurate description, and I truly feel like this trigger in the Kimber is a liability. Like that, one of those shots, I expected there to be a wall, and it just went off. And now that we're out here to demonstrate that, so there's nothing there. It's perfectly safe. The gun's pointed in a safe direction. Now, maybe there's just a problem with the trigger from Kimber. You know, we'll take away all the excuses or whatever, okay? It's not the ammo. Maybe it's a dud. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's not. Obviously, a huge amount of people received this thing for free, and they had nothing but good things to say. And I said it a bunch of times, and the video is getting really, really long. But if the people who got the gun enjoy the gun, they make more than one video about it, okay? They shoot the gun, and they bring it back out, and they keep shooting. They don't just shoot it once and put it away. And it's just not a gun that's enjoyable to shoot. Those are just my opinions. Feel free, go to the comment section, say whatever you got to say. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I find the comments kind of entertaining. I know it's messed up, but I do. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have questions, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them, okay? Thanks for watching.